Okay, so this is Aqua Beginner any percent. Birth by Sleep, Final Mix, HD, Aqua Beginner any percent. So the first fight here is Orbs. Basically, you just want to knock them into each other as best you can, because if you knock them into each other, it automatically kills them. And then the second wave, you just want to shot lock. Gets off a decent amount of damage. And then you hope that Donald, Ven, and Terra both do a pretty good job. The last wave, you want to knock these two into each other, and then use your commands to take out the last wave as best you can. Okay, so now we're going to be heading to our first world, which is Castle of Dreams. And then, as soon as I'm in the world, to the left, there's a chest with a fleeting crystal in it that I'm going to grab. And then fleeting crystals are going to be used to meld magic haste throughout the run. Makes our magic commands come back faster, which is very useful. Over here, I'm going to use the Terra D-Link to drop down and grab this chest, which is Barrier Surge. The reason I use the Terra D-Link to drop down is because it makes me immediately hit the floor instead of waiting through the long fall animation. And then I can also use the slide dash that is one of his commands. And now I'm just grabbing these two chests because I want to sell them. I need a certain amount of money to buy all my commands when I get to the Enchanted Dominion. So you gotta start picking up chests early. Here I just change the camera, and then I equip the Barrier Surge over Quick Blitz. Because Barrier Surge is a much more useful command. Okay, so this is Jacques. First I'm gonna take out two of these floods. Then I'm going to push the other flood out of the way, because I just want Jacques to run over to the end. And it's random which pattern he gives you. And depending on which one he gives you, you're going to have to kill someone first. And luckily it doesn't waste too much time, because we're going to need to kill Unversed for EXP later anyway. So it kind of ends up evening out a little bit. Even though this is slightly slower than getting the optimal path where he just runs straight to the end. But it's still not that big of a deal. And then our first boss fight is Cursed Coach. I'm going to use my commands here to get into Spellweaver. So you're going to Blizzard, Barrier Surge, Thunder, and then get into Spellweaver. And then when I hit him with this finisher of the Spellweaver combo, it stuns him. So we want to keep doing that until we build up Spellweaver, and then we use Spellweaver on him. And then after we use Spellweaver, we just want to go through our commands again and just try to finish him off, because he's left with a little under half a bar of HP. And you want to avoid that little suck attack. Alright, now we're going to be heading off into our second world. After beating Castle of Dreams, we unlock Dwarf Woodlands and Enchanted Dominion. We're going to be heading to Dwarf Woodlands next, just because the battle level is lower and we can just get through it quite easily. There's no force fights or anything, we can just get straight through it to the boss. Okay, I'm going to go to the left here and pick up this poison chest, because I want to use it on Magic Mirror, and then I'm just going to sell it after. But it makes Magic Mirror a little faster. I'm going to pick up this high potion chest, just because I need a little bit more money. And here I'm going to do a little sequence break. So if you get up onto this ledge, you can Barrier Surge over and get this chest, which is Fission Firaga. You're not supposed to be able to get this chest this early. Fission Firaga is a very powerful command. And then right there, I just equip Fission Firaga and then equip the poison. So those are the commands I want to have for Magic Mirror. And now I'm just gonna run straight through and fight Magic Mirror. Normally, in the older routes, we would have killed enemies here to get to level 2, because it's a magic increase. But it doesn't really matter, you get basically the same fight, and it's faster to kill enemies later on to make up that EXP that you're not getting right here. So you want to attack, and then poison, and then go through Blizzard and Fission Firaga. So you get into Spellweaver. Then after a hit of Spellweaver, you'll knock him away, and you want to use the Barrier Surge to get close to him again. And basically in this fight, you want to use poison on him whenever you have the chance, because poison's always doing damage to him, doing little ticks of damage to him, even when he flies away from you and stuff. Okay, and here you gotta find him in the little hallway. Luckily he's right there. Okay, and now I should be able to finish him off with just a shot lock. Okay, and now we're in the last world of this little trio, which is Enchanted Dominion. Now we have to make our way up into the castle to go fight the goons. And then when I get into the dungeon right here, I'm going to visit the shop and sell pretty much all my commands, except for Fission Firaga and the Thunder. Here I'm going to buy 4 magnets, an arrow, and I'm going to equip Treasure Trove because it has 1 more strength, and then I'm going to put on a Thunder and 3 of the magnets. And here I'm going to do another little sequence break. I'm going to go into Terra's D-Link and then sliding dash across here so I can get to this Ice Barrage early. And then this is Goons. Basically you want to magnet them together and then use Thunder on them to kill them. And then Fission Firaga, as you can see, is very strong, and it has it's an AoE attack, so it can do a lot of damage to multiple enemies. Okay, and that's the first Goons fight down. And there's another section to the Goons. Takes a little bit longer. You have to kill quite a bit more Goons. Okay, so here they all spawn in little waves. So as you take out each wave, another wave will spawn in. And then you want to kill a couple of these guys over here as they jump down, because you need to kill a certain number in this room, or else all of the ones you need to kill won't spawn in the next room. And here's just a little movement tech to get up over here. Save walking along the whole thing. And here you just Magnet Thunder. And then you want to position your magnet so that you can get all 5 of these guys sucked up together. And I'm going to use the Spellweaver here just to take out some of these guys while my commands are recharging. And after you do this little RC with Phil, you can run over here, and you can actually hit this gear with the Fission Firaga and end this, instead of going all the way up to the top and going around and hitting the switch yourself. So here I'm going to meld 2 Magneras. And I'm going to use the 2 Fleeting Crystals that I have gathered in order to get Magic Haste. As you can see, we already have 2 Magic Haste. And I'm also going to put the Ice Barrage on so I can use it during Dragon Mail. But as you can see, we already have 2 Magic Haste, and that's going to help increase how fast our commands recharge a lot at this point in the game. And as the time goes on, I'm going to try to get 5 more, or 3 more, so I have a total of 5. Because with a total of 5 Magic Haste, your commands recharge very fast. Alright, here I'm going to grind for a bit of EXP. And right here, if I Magnera and then use Ice Barrage, I can kill a whole bunch of Heartlet, a whole bunch of Unversed, and then get to level 4, so I get my magic increase. And this is where it evens out with the Jacques that I got, or the Jacques that you can get, because this is where you grind for EXP, and this can be sped up a little bit by getting certain kills during Jacques. Okay, now with Dragon Mail, we're just going to go through our commands. Fission Firaga and Ice Barrage do a lot of damage to her, but we also want to be back in this little corner so we're not getting hit by her, because she can kill us very quickly. Then once we get Spellweaver, we're going to use that to do a little bit of damage. It doesn't do that much damage because our attack stat is not high, but it's our only form of damage during our commands recharging. Okay, and here she's going to take off. This is pretty decent damage. It's possible to get Flightless, but it requires a lot of luck, so this is about a normal fight with pretty good damage. And then I should be able to just finish her off with Spellweaver right here. So the next world is Radiant Garden. And we're actually not going to stay in Radiant Garden that long. We're gonna end up leaving real soon to do some EXP grinding. But first we're going to go here to get an Abounding Crystal and to do the Forced Fight. Right here I'm going to put Fairy Stars on because it has a higher magic stat. And then I'm going to put Magnet and Arrow over the Ice Barrage because I want them leveled up. So here I'm going to go Snow White so I can use a command called Treasure Raid. Treasure Raid gives me a high chance of getting an Abounding Crystal drop from those guys. And we want the Abounding Crystal drop to get EXP Walker. Now we get to do this fight with Mickey. So in this fight, we're basically going to be doing chip damage, except for our fires, except for Fission Firaga. So I'm going to Magnera because it sucks all them in, and then the arrow actually does decent damage to them. But then we Magnera these guys together, and then we jump Fission Firaga because it takes out basically all of them. And here we just want to keep magneting them to do chip damage while we wait for Fission Firaga to come back and then use our Spellweaver. And because they're in the magnet, they're also taking damage from the magnet. And they're held close to you by the magnet so that you can keep doing continuous damage with Spellweaver. So here I'm putting on Destiny's Embrace and then making EXP Walker. Now I'm going to turn around and go behind me to get Mind Square. Mind Square is a very strong command. And then now that we've done all this, we're going to leave Radiant Garden and we're going to go back to Castle Dreams to do a little bit of EXP farming. Just because it speeds up the rest of the game immensely. And here, I sold Ice Barrage and bought 6 fires. I'm going to be melding together the fires into Firas, and then I'm going to meld them into Firagas. Basically at the end of this grinding. So right here, I'm going to go into Mickey D-Link, and I'm going to start killing things to get the D-Link drop. And then, once I get the level 1 D-Link drop, I move on to the next room, which is the room I'm going to be doing all of the farming in. Okay, in this room, I go Mickey, and then I want to get the second D-Link upgrade. The second D-Link upgrade from Mickey, you get double EXP and double CP. And since we're getting double EXP and double CP, we can level up our commands extremely fast, and we can also just get a lot of EXP. and there's that second upgrade. There's a little bit of RNG in getting into the upgrades, but usually tends to be fine. And then now that I have a level 2 upgrade, I can use Sign of Faith and just blow through all these waves. Now that I've gone through the room once, I'm going to meld my Fyras. I want 1 fire boost. Fire boost doesn't really matter, but it's okay to get them. And then now we're going to come back in and we're going to do more EXP grinding. Basically, we have to go through this room twice once we have the level 2 upgrade, because that'll give us the ability to meld our Firagas, and then we'll be just below level 16. And then we'll be good to go for the rest of the game, and we won't have to fight anything extra for the rest of the game. Okay, so that's one time down. Once we go through this room one more time, we'll be able to make our Firagas and get out of here. Okay, I just got level 14, but my Fyras are leveled up, so I can level up, so I can meld my Firagas. And then, unfortunately, the command meld turned into a Raging Storm, but it's not too big a deal, because I can just sell the Raging Storm and buy more Firagas, so it's not too big of a deal. And then, now that we're done with the grinding... Well, actually, I'm not done quite yet. I need a little bit more EXP. But I should be good to head out of here in just a sec. Okay, and now I'm getting out of here. And then just kill a couple things on the way out, just for a little bit of extra XP. And now I'm level 16, so we're good. And then, since we're such a high level for what the game expects you to be right now, we get out of here, and then we go fight Trinity Armor, and we can just blow through his HP, and we can blow through pretty much every boss for the rest of the game. Okay, now for Trinity Armor, I'm just going to use my fires. Then I'm going to use the Mind Square because it's going to fill up my command gauge and just do a lot of damage to him. And then I want to use that Firestorm finisher on him because it does like the bar and a half of damage. Because normally we'd get here and we'd be kind of underleveled. And we'd be doing like not that much damage. And then in this PB I was actually able to kill Trinity Armor before he did his DM, which is extremely fast. Usually he gets off his DM and you have to sit through it, but Right there, that was extremely fast. Now we get to make our way to Vanitas. And one of the cool things about Vanitas is he's actually affected by certain commands. So he's going to be affected by Magnet, which is going to allow me to suck him up a Magnet and just pretty much take control of the fight. Because normally Vanitas is a boss that likes to teleport around and get iframes during some of your attacks. But when he's caught in a Magnet, he's actually vulnerable to everything, and he can't dodge your attacks. So here I'm going to Magnet, and then I'm going to use my fires. Now I'm going to start doing physical attacks, and just keep him in the Magnet. That's basically the key to the fight, is you want to keep him in the Magnet. Because when he gets out of Magnet, he can start doing his own thing. But luckily it's not too hard to get him back in the Magnet if he gets out of it. That's a pretty quick fight, because you're so high level. Now that we're done with Radiant Garden, we've unlocked a new Ring of Worlds. And the first world we're going to go to is basically just a world of minigames. And the minigame that Aqua gets to play is Fruit Ball. So basically in Fruit Ball, you just got to hit the fruit into the net, and you got to outscore your opponents. That's basically it. Unfortunately, it's 3 minutes long, and you can't skip it. But this is definitely a very good time to read donations during like any type of stream like that. Any type of marathon. And usually the shoegazers don't go too hard on you. It's very easy. It doesn't get hard until you do it like after the main story and do it for like journal completion and stuff like that. Pretty much all the mini games in the 3 mini games in this world are pretty easy. There's not that much to them. Yeah, and as you can see, I've gotten up to 25 points, and they're at a measly little 8. It's really hard to lose this, but if you're not being careful, I've definitely seen it happen to people. Okay, now we're done with this mini game, and we can move on to basically the rest of the game. It's just not, there's no more real downtime for the rest of the game. So now we're gonna go to Olympus, and this first force fight with Herc, I'm gonna be trying to use Mind Square and my Fission Firaga to kill all these groups of enemies. It doesn't really matter in this fight, but party members in this game can actually steal your EXP. So if Herc deals the final blow to an enemy, you won't get the EXP, but it doesn't really matter for this category because you already have so much EXP and you're over leveled. And then, fortunately, that guy had 1 hit left, but you should be able to end that fight with Spellweaver or Blade Charge if that's what you get. Usually you'd go for Blade Charge, and then you can end the fight with Blade Charge, but Spellweaver is basically the same. And then back here, I'm going to grab this Cura chest, just because I want to be safe at the end and cure. Because the final bosses can actually do quite a bit of damage to you. Even though it's beginner, you can still die very easily if you're not careful. Okay. And then basically for the 10 rounds, I'm going to be using Magnera and Fission Firaga. Here, if you just use a Mind Square, it just kills them. But for the other rounds, I'm going to be using Magnera and then Fission Firaga. Because that usually takes care of everything in the round. And then just like that, just because Fission Firaga has a nice AoE to it, it can kill pretty much everything. There are going to be a little bit of variance to these rounds, but for the most part, like using Fission Firaga or a Mind Square on some of the rounds, it's usually about the same speed. So it shouldn't really matter. And this guy didn't want to get hit by the Mind Square. And unfortunately, since I got hit out of a magnet, I had to use the Blade Charge finisher. But normally you can just use 2 Magneras there and then end that fight. Okay, now I'm going to leave Olympus and go to Deep Space. Because I want to be a higher level for the Ice Colossus and Hades. But I also wanted to do the 10 rounds first, so I get more EXP for this world. And not come into this world a lower leveled. Because this is about the point in the run where your damage starts to get a little lower. You're still doing good damage, but the battle levels are starting to catch up with you, and you're not, like, super over leveled anymore. But luckily, you're still doing good damage because you are high enough level. In a non-grinding route, you'd actually come here before you went to OC, and you'd be way under leveled, so you'd be doing chip damage, and you'd have to just make your way through the world like pretty slowly. That's one of the big reasons why the grinding route saves so much time over any other route. Just because you can actually get through this world fairly quickly. And this little minigame right here, you just gotta kill some Heartless. So basically you just want to go off to the side and start shooting at the Heartless. And then luckily, since you're a decently high level, they die pretty quickly. Because this minigame is pretty scary on other categories such as crit, because there's so many enemies around you, but luckily on beginner you don't have to worry about any of that, and you can just kill them all. Sometimes the couple last guys give you a bit of a hard time. And then here, I want to try to get all these guys to attack me and follow me so that I can get them all to group up. But unfortunately, it looks like they did not do that. But luckily, they all still die very quickly. Now we can use the transporter to go to the next room. And then over here, there's a forced fight with Stitch. Stitch is kind of irrelevant in this fight. Like, he doesn't really do much. But so it's all up to you. You want a magnet, and then use a Fission Firaga to take out those guys. And then basically you want to keep everything in a magnet the whole fight. And then these two guys, they spawn close to the outside, so you want to kind of bring them in. And then once you take out one of them, the last wave will spawn in, and you can just clean up the fight. Here I'm going to visit the shop. I'm going to sell Magnera and then the Raging Storm that I got earlier so that I have enough to buy Firagas. And then I also want an Ignite to use on Vanitas too. So now I just have a command deck full of Firagas and then the Mind Square. Because that gives me like a very high damage output. This is Gantu. And Gantu dies very fast. This Mind Square just casually does like almost a bar of damage. And then because I got the Raging Storm earlier, it took a little while for my commands to fill up. But it's not too slow. And we're still able to get a pretty quick fight. And then we just come back here, switch my Keyblade to Hyperdrive, because it has a higher strength stat. And then I just want this Ignite. And we come back OC just to finish up Zack, and then the Hades Colossus. Hades and Ice Colossus. So here I'm actually going to do a pretty interesting strat. I'm going to Mind Square, and then I'm going to hit him in to the different mines. And then unfortunately he got away from the Mind Squares right here. But I was able to get him back over there and hit him into a couple of them to finish the fight pretty quickly. Okay, now we have Hades and Ice Colossus. The Ice Colossus dies very quickly to fires. And then Hades isn't really affected by fires all that much. And you want to keep them very close together, so you're damaging them both at the same time. And unfortunately, Hades decided to DM. And then once he's out of his DM, I can just finish him up with Blade Charge real quick. And even though he DM'd, that was still a very quick fight. Alright, now there's 3 fights left in the run. Next one is Vanitas 2. We have to make our way through Neverland, and we fight him at the end of the world. So now we make our way through the world. I think the story here is that you're looking for treasure, and then the treasure is really just the adventure with your friends. I think that's the story gimmick they have going on here, but we don't really care about that. And then you can do a little swing right there to cancel out of the animation and get onto the ledge quicker. So right here I'm going to grab this Firaga chest, just because I need one more Firaga to complete my deck for the end game. Then I'm going to use Terra's D-Link right here to sliding dash. And then I'm going to hit this little orb to bounce myself back up. And that skips going to the bottom and then going up a bunch of orbs. Saves a little bit of time. Okay, so this is Vanitas 2. Unfortunately, for this fight, he is not affected by Magnet. So you basically have to Firaga him, and also the reason I bought the Ignite is because Ignite does affect him, and then since he does like to have iframes during a lot of stuff, if you hit him with Ignite, he is constantly getting hit by a little bit of chip damage, so he is taking constant damage there, so it's just a little bit of nice guaranteed damage output. Because he can dodge a lot of the fires if he wants to. Which he definitely seems to be doing here. And he's also teleporting through my Ignites, which is a bit unfortunate. And there he actually got hit by Ignite. As you can see, his health bar slowly ticking down a little bit. And then, unfortunately, it was a little bit slow, but that's kind of how that fight goes, because he just sometimes doesn't get hit by everything. Alright, and now the last two fights are the final fight. These are the last two fights. Braig and Ventus slash Vanitas. But first we gotta make a little quick pit stop here at Yensid's tower. Talk to him real quick. And now we get to go to the Keyblade Graveyard and finish this up. Then I'm going to put on Pixie Petal because it has a very high magic stat. It has a magic stat of 6. And then I equip my Cura just so I can heal myself. So the deck I'm going to be going into the final fights with is 6 Firagas, because Fission Firaga is basically a Firaga at this point, because on bosses the AoE does nothing. So it's basically 6 Firagas, a Mind Square, and then the Cura. And that's what I roll with for the last 2 fights. Then here I'm doing a little bit of movement in certain directions, because I want to go next to each of those tornadoes so that I don't get caught by any of them. When you go towards a new tornado, the one that was previously following you stops. And then, because of that, we can get through there without hitting any of the tornadoes. Because if you get hit by a tornado, you have to fight a big group of Unversed. And it doesn't give you any, it barely gives you any EXP, and it's literally just a waste of time. And it takes forever. So it's good that we can skip all of those. Alright, so this is Braig. So then basically you want to Firaga him out of his first attack. And then now you want to try to get as much damage off as possible with our Firagas. And then the Mind Square is also something that could do a little bit of damage, but he tends to not get hit by much of the Mind Square, so Firaga is basically our main form of damage output in this fight. And then now he's going to stand in the middle, and if you guard his attack, which all of his attacks missed, you can do a decent amount of damage. And it's also possible to DM skip him here, but it's very dangerous to try to DM skip him, like to attack him during his DM. But it is possible to kill him before he even starts the DM. But it's pretty hard to do that. You have to get pretty lucky with a lot of your Firagas connecting. Alright, and now he's done. We just have the final fight, which is Vanitas. Not Vanitas, Vanitas. And he's also going to take a lot of damage from Firagas. But I also placed that Mind Square down because he takes a lot more damage from Mind Square than Braig does. And he also gets hit by more than like one of the pieces of it because he's sliding around and doing attacks like this. And this is another point where not having all of my magic haste is wasting a little bit of time because when I go through all my Firagas, it takes a second to get back to all of them being recharged. And then now that he's in the center, we can just spam some Firagas on him while he's charging up doing his DM. And then should die pretty quickly here. Should only take a couple more Firagas. And that was a little bit scary right there. And then I'm able to kill him right there. Alright. And that was Aqua Beginner.